Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Early Learning and Human Services Committee be relieved of House Bill 1092 and that the bill be placed on the second reading calendar.
It has been moved and seconded that the Early Learning and Human Services Committee be relieved of House Bill 1092 and that the bill be placed on the second reading calendar. Remarks, Representative Couture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a critically important bill and a critically important issue to me and many Washingtonians across our state. Right now, we have a stunning crisis in child welfare. In the last 2 years, over 100 critical incidents, that's innocent babies and toddlers and children that have died behind the doors of their homes due to fentanyl and hard drug abuse of their parents as the state stood by negligently because of the Keeping Families Together Act and left them behind to die or nearly die. Mr. Speaker, I should not have to turn on my television to King 5 and watch toddlers being Narcaned in our streets because the state refused to remove those children from homes where parents are abusing hard drugs like fentanyl, meth, and heroin. That's wrong. In the first 2 quarters of 2025, we had a record amount of critical incidents. According to the Office of Family and Children Ombuds, they rose the alarm because we had 92 critical incidents in just 2 quarters of 2025. Mr. Speaker, that would be equivalent to basically every single month for us for what Oregon had, which was 21 critical incidents in an 8-month period. That's shameful. House Bill 1092 will help protect these kids by changing the removal barrier from imminent physical harm, which is a matter of time. Imminent is a measure of time, and nobody, Mr. Speaker, has a crystal ball. And the state of Washington needs to listen to the people on the front lines of the child welfare crisis. Judges, prosecutors, social workers, foster families. You could go down the list. It wasn't too long ago that little baby Otis died in Jefferson County because of the Keeping Families Together Act and imminent physical harm. That baby Otis was sent back to his fentanyl abusing father, even though they knew that there was a risk that that child was going to die. And that child did die, Mr. Speaker. That child was killed and thrown into the bushes as if that life never even mattered. And those kinds of deaths are totally preventable, Mr. Speaker, and that's why we must fix the Keeping Families Together Act and bring House Bill 1092 to the floor so that we can debate and amend and make sure that we have a substantial and serious risk of harm to remove these children from these terrible circumstances and end this travesty.
8th order motion. The good member from the 35th District, Representative Couture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Early Learning and Human Services Committee be relieved of House Bill 2511 and that the bill be placed on the second reading calendar.
It has been moved and seconded that the Early Learning and Human Services Committee be relieved of House Bill 2511 and that the bill be placed on the second reading calendar. Remarks, Representative Couture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2511 is similar to House Bill 1092 you heard about just a minute ago. They both try to tackle the very big problem of the language imminent physical harm that is causing babies and toddlers to perish at high rates and high child mortality rates due to malnourishment, abuse, and neglect in our state. This tackles it slightly different. It's slightly narrow, but like the bill before it, this bill is also a bipartisan bill that did receive a hearing in the Human Services Committee, but was not moved out. And I can't think of anything more important, Mr. Speaker, than standing up for the kids, especially the most vulnerable kids in our society, babies and toddlers who are dying behind closed doors in their homes. We have a drug crisis in our state, and it's these children are the first people that are harmed by that drug crisis. Mr. Speaker, if you're smoking fentanyl as a parent, you can't care for, nurture, feed, bathe, shelter, anything for yourself. A lot of these parents spend more time loving the drugs that they are consuming instead of loving their kids. Not to say that they don't love their kids, but they love the drugs more. The only thing a fentanyl user is thinking about, Mr. Speaker, is how to get the next hit. And when that parent is overdosing on the couch or puking on themselves or urinating on their pants as they left fentanyl residue all over the floor for their babies and toddlers to get into and die, much like that happened in your district, Mr. Speaker, where a toddler grabbed his father's fentanyl straw and overdosed and died. These are completely preventable deaths. These amounts of critical incidents and child fatalities did not happen previous to the Keeping Families Together Act, which was enacted in 2023, but the Department of Children, Youth, and Families was practicing as early as fall of 2021, as public records now show us. And it's that very practice that killed little Oakley Carlson. When the Department of Children, Youth, and Families sent Oakley Carlson back to her criminal parents who were also addicted to drugs, where now we presume that she was murdered by her biological parents after being ripped from perfectly good foster care. That's wrong. We could do a whole lot better than that, Mr. Speaker. We're better than this. Vote yes to help save these kids. Relieve the Early Learning and Human Services Committee be relieved of House Bill 2692 and to be placed on the second reading calendar.
It's been moved and seconded that the Early Learning and Human Services Committee be relieved of House Bill 2692 and that the bill be placed on the second reading calendar. Remarks, Representative Couture.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Much like the two bills before it, this is a bill from your own caucus about imminent physical harm and how that should change. And I heard about subject matter expertise. Let me tell you that this is not a left versus right issue, Mr. Speaker. This is a right versus wrong issue. There are judges that call the Keeping Families Together Act the dead baby bill. Judges both of the left persuasion and the right persuasion and the center persuasion. It is undeniable the harm that is being caused to our kids in the child welfare system. But it's not them, it's the Democrat prosecutor in Jefferson County. What I'm trying to say is that these bills are backed by subject matter experts. They're backed by judges, prosecutors, first responders, by foster families. All sorts of people are backing this bill and begging, please, can we save these kids? All of these bills basically touch on the same thing, that the definition of imminent physical harm needs to be changed. A couple summers ago in Everett, 3 babies overdosed in the same day, all related to different families due to fentanyl exposure. 1 died, 2 were revived. And Mr. Speaker, the very next day, after being revived, we sent those babies back home to the dangerous environment. We have created a system that escalates risk upon risk upon risk, ace upon ace upon ace, traumatic experience upon traumatic experience, until finally that kid is harmed, nearly dead or dead. And isn't it nuts that we send babies back to the same fentanyl abusing home just a day after they were exposed to fentanyl and had to be revived? Is there an expert that says that's safe for the baby? Is there an expert that says that lowering services down a rope into a dark hole makes that home safe? I haven't heard an expert say that, Mr. Speaker, but what I have heard is families across our state devastated by their family members that they could not save, family members that are the most vulnerable in our state. And if it's anything our state government could do, it's stand up for these babies and toddlers. Vote yes.